I'm here today to tell you that I tested positive for COVID-19, and I'm feeling really, really good um, physically.
6 days earlier, Pablo had woken up with a fever, body aches, and a slight cough.
On Sunday, March 15th, that I got the phone call from the local health authorities telling me that I had tested positive, which, let me just pause for a second there. That just shocked me because it was the last thing I expected in light of how I was feeling. I thought that would not be the case. And when I got the news that I tested positive, I would share that, yeah, the thought is like, does my body just start shutting down? What happens? Will I need a respirator? Does this? And of course, logic kicks in, and you're like, all right, so it's still you stand at, it's very unlikely that you'll even have terrible symptoms, and it's even less likely that you would die.
When Pablo found out Sunday night, on Monday morning at 6:30 in the morning, I called my brother and I was sobbing because I'm like, I've been holding it together because I wanted to act brave in front of my kids, and I can't talk to my husband right now because he's like locked behind a room. What do I do? What does this mean for us? And I was couldn't sleep, dealing with anxiety, only on 3 hours of sleep. It was terrible.
The question people have asked me, how did they get it? Does he know who he got it from?
Maybe I got it from the people that asked you. I mean, that's right, because we don't know.
Jackie, their two kids, and their Japanese exchange student were eventually tested after some of them experienced mild symptoms, and Jackie and daughter Gabrielle were found to be positive. The exchange student tested negative and eventually went back to Japan. Son Santiago, who had been in closer contact with Pablo and showed many of the same symptoms, tested negative, but for safety reasons was treated as a positive.
Our 10-year-old daughter, when she found out she tested positive, she was very scared. Although she knew she was younger, so she was more likely to come out unscathed. And it was funny because all she had was the sniffles and the sneezes, right? But she very wisely said, you know what, Mom? Now that I know I have it, I'm not that scared. I was more scared about getting it than actually finding out I have it.
Tell us about your involvement with the CDC study.
Oh, yeah.
So as soon as Pablo found out he had tested positively on that Sunday night, starting on Monday, he got daily phone calls from a nurse who just made her last phone call to us today. But she would call him every day to ask his temperatures and ask his symptoms. When she found out that we had decided to go public, she let the CDC know, and they were very interested in asking us if we would be willing to do further testing. We, of course, said yes. They told us that they wanted to test two things. One, how the COVID virus spreads in a household. And two, they wanted us to test a self-administered nose swab and see how it compares in the efficacy to the one that the doctors give.
The CDC visited the Muirheads, did blood work, and collected nose samples with long and short swabs. They confirmed the diagnoses. The Muirheads are also keeping a health journal for the CDC.
Now that we've emerged from our quarantines within our quarantine and we can walk around the house, this feels pretty good. And we feel very fortunate and very privileged that we're not worried about putting food on the table. So it's very important to think about those in your circle, in your network. Yeah. If you don't have folks in your network that might be vulnerable financially, then donate. That's one major stressor that we don't have. And I know a lot of people have that. They're worried about paying bills. My students are. My students, they might be able to put food on the table, but they might not be able to pay rent, right? Process that for a second. My three favorite people in the world are my wife and my two kids. Of course, I love my parents dearly, and I'd add them to that mix, and my brother, and others. But this is our family. So to get to spend this much intense time with them right now, I'm beginning to think when this all ends, I'm going to miss the heck out of them. And we're getting some real family, like quality time together. And this is an opportunity for us to teach our kids some life lessons.
What was it like, Jackie? Your eyes kind of sparkled a little bit earlier when I asked you, how was it going out?
Oh, it was delightful. I mean, Just when it hit me yesterday, I'm like, wow, I am done. And I got my taste back the same day.
And she's still with me, which is amazing.
um, it's the little things in life, often you don't realize what you have until you lose it, right? And so to be able to go out and on such a beautiful day, it was a gift.